of course, the alleged fraud, and then, of course, now the conviction here does raise some pretty serious concerns about the trustworthiness and safety of crypto exchanges as a whole. So, who knows? I guess the hope is we don't kind of do a rubber band effect where, it leads to super increased regulatory scrutiny on the cryptocurrency industry specifically.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of WagMe TV. Super exciting one here for you guys today. We're going to start with a little cheers because just moments ago, it was released that Sam Bankman-Fried was found guilty of all 7 charges for his role and for the entire situation with FTX and Alameda. So these 7 charges included everything from wire fraud and conspiracy against FTX customers and Alameda lenders, as well as conspiracy to commit securities fraud against FTX investors and commodities fraud, which is kind of interesting and one we'll kind of get into here in terms of the actual accounts that he was found guilty of, but commodities fraud against FTX customers as well. Obviously, one of the most followed stories in the crypto space over the last year, and a ruling that we were all very much looking forward to. So we're going to break it down for you today, and let's kind of kick it off. What are your guys' initial reactions to this news story that's breaking tonight?
I mean, I'm definitely I'm excited that it's all finally come to an end. I think everyone in the crypto space was pretty upset that it took so long even just to get him arrested and indicted on a few charges. But now that we actually have something to actually, cheer for in terms of him actually getting put away and it actually finally happening, I think it's a great, step for the crypto space. It sets a good precedence for any of the kind of tomfoolery that people might be doing behind the scenes. And I think it just sends a good message. So I'm pumped about it.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point, right? I think it can be ultimately seen as a positive thing for the crypto industry. Kind of just shows law enforcement's taking fraud in this industry specifically very seriously, is willing to prosecute criminals when they come about. Could help deter future fraud and really make the industry a little bit more trustworthy. I think on the other hand, obviously SBF, as we all know, was a really prominent figure in the industry, and his company FTX is one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges. So it does, all of this, of course, the alleged fraud, and then of course now the conviction here does raise some pretty serious concerns about the trustworthiness and safety of crypto exchanges as a whole. So who knows? I guess the hope is we don't kind of do a rubber band effect where, it leads to super increased regulatory scrutiny on the cryptocurrency industry specifically. But that's, I guess, my only worry from it. But I think ultimately the right thing was done here today. We can all be excited about that and cheers that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And hopefully there's more charges coming for the people that helped them conspire on these, defrauding millions and billions of dollars from customers, investors, both from FTX and Alameda. I'm sure there's more to come out, but Caroline Ellison, some of the other FTX employees, hopefully they get their time in the news as well, because I don't think it was only him.
Yeah, I think generally it's kind of helpful to rewind a little bit. And when we think back to about a year ago, right? It was last November where, all this kind of happened. And then the weeks and a couple months after that where SBF was just seemingly totally chilling, he was doing Twitter spaces, he was tweeting, he was basically looked like just kind of a free man. And everyone was just so shocked and just what are you doing? And very upset, rightfully so, because he clearly defrauded so many people. At that time, there was a lot of rhetoric around, oh, he's going to get off scot-free, nobody's going to do anything, all of that. So, fast forward to now, it's really good to see, the hammer being brought down on him hard. And it's very clear that they wanted to make an example of him. So definitely good to see. I'm curious to get your guys' take on the actual charges themselves, because, we talk a lot on this channel about, the regulatory environment and, everything from, the Ripple case and, are these cryptocurrency securities or commodities, things of that nature. What's interesting is the counts, a couple of the counts that he was convicted of had to do with securities fraud as one, and also commodities fraud as another. And so that kind of opens the door to a lot of questions around like what specifically was ruled in this case, and is this going to set some precedent in terms of other legal matters when it comes to cryptocurrencies and them being securities or commodities. It just kind of caught my eye. I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if it means that they just didn't know how to classify the assets, and that's why they just tacked both on, or if there was something that they uncovered. Like I wasn't able to find anything that they particularly uncovered where they said, hey, this is definitely a commodity, this is definitely a security. So I'm wondering if they just I'm not sure. I wonder if they just kind of bundled them together and just said, hey, you know what, we're going to tack on 5 years for both because we can't say for sure.
Just layer it on.
Yeah,
Layer
I mean,
it
we're
on.
looking at 20, 40, 60, 80,
It's 110 in
110 years, right?
Yep.
Like at that point, it's like, what's 105 versus 110, right? If it's going to allow them to keep this kind of door open of, commodities versus securities, right? So I think they were just kind of protecting themselves from that perspective, similar to Sia's thoughts. But Evan, did you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at these charges, kind of like you were talking about, it's interesting that those are the lowest amount of years compared to the wire fraud that was committed on those 4 top accounts, and then money laundering further down, which I think, in my opinion, is where you could start to bring in other entities and crypto entities with this, when it comes to hiding those funds, hiding those transactions. Yeah, it's an interesting, sentence, just because of, it seems like to me, how wide reaching it is, covering both FTX and Alameda. I'd be interested to see how far prosecutors go. Like I was saying, like with the FTX team, also with the Alameda team, I think we talked about, there was an Alameda CEO that had recently stepped down. I think when he learned about the type of like backdoor FTX has into Alameda's funds, he had stepped down 6 months before Caroline Ellison took over. And so it'll be interesting to see how who they go after, now that they've got SBF, hopefully behind bars, it seems like. And then also I was surprised by how quickly this trial happened. It seemed like it took about a month, and then we already had sentencing. So, I mean, for me, that's pretty exciting, and I think for crypto and as a whole.
I think he was just such a commonly hated man that it was just it was easy. It was
Well, it
an
seems
open
like
and shut case too. I don't think it was really that
difficult.
difficult. I don't think it was that difficult to prove. And then you multiply it by the fact that he's literally stealing people's life savings. Not to mention, just like, I think everyone kind of woke up to his general like disheveled appearance going towards this broader kind of ploy to like manipulate people and stuff. And everyone was just kind of sick of him, which, we love to see.
Yeah, and I mean, he also like just as like a last ditch effort, which is like, this is typically, I guess, like a big taboo when you're on the defense in a litigation, but like he took the stand himself because he didn't have any like witnesses to take his side pretty much the entire trial. So I don't know, it's almost like poetic justice, like trying to stand up for himself when there's no one else helping him there because he's just completely in the wrong. So it was good to see.
I hope they release the tapes of that. I would love to see that. I mean, it kind of like if you rewind to last year, remember when he was like, playing video games and like being on Twitter Spaces and like things like that, and everyone was just like, there's no way your lawyer is like approving this right now. Like, there's no way you should just be like speaking freely. And he wanted to do it anyway. So I think we can all agree that he's going to get what he deserves. Apparently, the judge is going to be the one that makes the decision on how long the sentence actually is. I think I speak for all of us when I say that we're hoping he gets the max sentence, 110, 115 years, whatever it may be. Keep away for a long, long time. So, anything else you guys wanna add?
Yeah, I think the sentencing is important, but I think a big part of it too is getting back the lost funds of investors. Like being able to somehow, in some way, make these investors whole would be huge. I think that starts to come in and talk about the regulatory efforts in the U.S. and how you can create safeguards for U.S. investors. This is just another example of why good regulation in the space would be very helpful for investors, because it is a budding industry. There's a lot of promising projects and promising initiatives in crypto, but being able to give investors certain safeguards would be awesome. And this is just a prime example of it. Mata, do you have anything else?
Nothing much else on the case. I think it's just obviously to note, like it's there's still more to come on this. The news is very, very fresh, so I'm sure a lot of things will change. But I think this case and everything that's gone on with it in general is just really a reminder that even the most prominent and successful figures in really any industry, especially in crypto, are not immune to things like fraud or lying, right? So as investors, just always be wary of any investment opportunity. Try to diversify at least a little bit. And of course, like we always say, do your own research before investing in any asset. But I think it's a day to celebrate today. So all good stuff.
All right. Well, couldn't have said it better myself. To the viewers, thanks as always for tuning in. If you found any of this useful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Make sure to comment with your thoughts on SBF. We'd love to hear kind of what you guys think of this whole situation. And yeah, we'll keep you updated if there are any developments, but we'll see you next time on WagMe TV.